This is MuggleCast, the Harry Potter podcast discussing everything about J.K. Rowling's wizarding world. This week's episode is brought to you by Casper, a sleep brand that created one perfect mattress. Visit casper.com/MuggleCast and use code MuggleCast to receive $50 off your order. Weekly episodes of MuggleCast are brought to you by Patreon supporters. Thank you for your support, patrons. Visit patreon.com/MuggleCast to pledge and receive exclusive benefits in return. Welcome to MuggleCast episode 328. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Micah.
And it's a big anniversary week in the Harry Potter fandom. I know. We were just talking about the 20th anniversary of the Harry Potter series, of J.K. Rowling dropping the first Harry Potter book. But already we're at another anniversary here. It's a big summer for Harry Potter. We are now, this Friday, July 21st, is the 10th anniversary of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows being published. Can you guys believe it?
Oh, man.
No.
No.
Same. And I consider this to be a bigger anniversary than the 20th of Harry Potter because we all remember the 10th anniversary of Deathly. We all remember the midnight release of Deathly Hallows so vividly still. We don't remember the 20th or, the day the first Harry Potter book was published because none of us knew about it.
Well, and I think that's the important thing to underline here is we were all together as a world, as fans, by book 7, at least all of the hosts of MuggleCast. I'm not talking about physically in the same location, though many of us were. But around the world, we were all fans and everything. But we all came into the series as a sort of tapered. I know, Andrew, you're one of the first to get into the series, but for me, as an example, it was after the first movie in 2001. So I didn't celebrate really the 20th anniversary of Potter. I spent the day thanking J.K. Rowling once on Twitter, but ultimately my 20th anniversary is going to be.
You made the obligatory post, right?
Yeah, obligatory
Somebody
post, and then
twisted your arm a little bit.
But my 20th anniversary is 4 years away. So for this date, and especially because it's 10, that's huge. And doesn't it just feel like yesterday, fellas?
I don't know about yesterday. I mean, to me, what's so crazy is that it's been 10 years going back to 2007, and that the podcast was only around for 2 years prior to that. That's what blows my mind more than anything else. And now here we are 10 years removed from the final book being released, and that we've been doing this now. We're coming up on our 12-year anniversary. Speaking of anniversaries, we're coming up on our 12 years, and 2007. It seems long ago to me. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, the first 2 years of the podcast, because they were a mega productive 2 years. The fact that episode 100 was our live podcast from Waterstone's Piccadilly Circus in London.
It was so perfect.
Means, and that's literally, like, July 21st is actually 50 weeks, literally 50 weeks after August 5th, 2005. So it means there was a MuggleCast, the equivalent of every single week between when it was started and book 7. So, I mean, that's impressive. And Andrew, I don't know how you kept up with all that editing and all that releasing and all that producing. I didn't think it was possible. You were one man up.
He made his brother do it, really.
No.
That's the secret.
No. I enjoy editing. It's therapeutic, actually. I don't
Only
edit this
my
show
voice,
anymore.
though, Andrew, is therapeutic.
Yes, that is true.
Oh, those pre-recorded segments. It just occurred to me. I said where we were, but Micah, I don't know where you were for book 7.
I don't know where I was either. No, I think I was unable to go to London because of work. I was here in New York. I probably did what most people did, and that was go to the bookstore at around midnight and pick up the book and came home and read it. It's not as exciting. I don't have a great story to tell like you guys over in the UK, staying up to all hours of the morning. Kevin Steck spoiling people in the corner.
Oh,
because he had already gotten the manuscript.
Copy.
Yeah. And he was kind of I don't know. I wasn't there, but it sounded like he was confirming what he had read in the leaked manuscript as he was going through the book. So, yep, Moody dies. You know?
Yeah, he read the entire book the week before because somebody had sent it, I guess somehow, to one of the emails. Wasn't it he and Ben had both done that? Anyway, he got the book at midnight with the rest of us for one reason and one reason alone, was to read like the opening sentence, and then he closed the book. I remember he closed the book and looked up and said, "Yep, this was the one I read."
My leak was real.
The
source was legit.
And what
And actually, what annoyed me about him having read it early was that he would be like, okay, so we were all in the same hotel room reading the book nonstop, taking little breaks to sleep and eat and, try to function as normal human beings. And every once in a while, he'd be like, where are you guys in the story now? And we would like show him where. And he's like, oh, just you wait 10 more pages. You won't believe what's coming up. Oh, man, it's hard to do that Kevin voice.
Yeah, you're excelling at it, though. It's pretty good.
Anyway, it was a very special time. I know I have a great picture somewhere in my Instagram of me and Laura.
They didn't have
asleep.
Instagram back then.
Well, you are very right. It was a Throwback Thursday type of thing,
okay.
Mike.
I think it surfaced
TBT.
years later. I think I took that photo.
Laura and I are sleeping in bed, and I think I'm trying to find it now. We've got our copies of Deathly Hallows sitting on top of us, and we're just passed out, but
it symbolizes, or it really speaks, a picture being worth 1,000 words as they are. It really just, there's something so tender and innocent and calm and like exciting about that photo. Like that photo epitomizes the entire evening. Although we didn't take photos of Jamie bawling his eyes out because that would have just not held up as well. Do you remember how devastated Jamie was the night of?
He would never admit to that.
I wish we had pictures of that, to be honest with you, but by the way, I found this picture of me and Laura. We are both passed out. It's really funny.
And this was before alcohol.
I'll have to add it to the show notes. Oh no, that was well, we didn't have any alcohol that
we weren't drinking that
day,
night.
but yeah.
That was sheer exhaustion from our eyes. Yeah. Our eyes were telling our brains they needed a rest, and that was
we were hungover on Harry. So anyway, I thought what we could do is talk about what's happened since Deathly Hallows, since now that 10 years have passed. Mm-hmm. And specifically, I just wanted to talk about the biggest things in fandom. And we have a list here. We were trying to keep it to 10. It's currently at 12. I could argue that some of these could be taken out, but Micah put a couple of them in, so I didn't want to hurt his feelings by taking them out. So I'll just do it on the show instead of doing it passive-aggressively.
Well, this is in response to the people who, like Jamie, that evening all of us were really concerned about Potter being over.
Right.
Because, I mean, if you can think about it, like even getting started in 2001, that's only 6 years of Potter. Had somehow it really ended that night, people lost interest, people, didn't care for the movies that were still coming out, it would have been such a short trip around the sun between us and Devastation. The fact that there are not 10 but 12 potential items. And
I was going to say, though, Eric, I think Jamie's moved on quite well. So.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because for somebody so moved, he's not here with us right now. I'm not sure we invited him, so I'm not, I don't know.
Andrew, I joking aside, I think you could even make this list longer. It just depends how much you really want to sort of pack in this show in terms of the top stories or the top moments, because I'm sure we all have different ones. I'm sure people listening have different moments and events that they would include sort of in their top 10 since Deathly Hallows was released.
Right. Well, the point of making it 10 was because 10 years. But yeah, you could definitely probably go up to 20. But basically what I was trying to do with this list was just come up with the biggest things. Just stick with only the biggest things. Yeah. And Eric, you bring up a great point. I was actually writing about this. I'm working on an article for Hypable for the anniversary. The fact that if you look at all of these items, none of these existed. We could have predicted, we knew that none of these were coming 10 years ago. So the fact that all these came by surprise, I think really tells you just how great this past decade has been for Harry Potter fans, and the fact that, what about if we look to the next decade? I mean, maybe we can do that on our next episode. We've done speculating before about what's to come, but like if we didn't know about these 10 things, what else could possibly lie ahead? So
Mike is still adding items to the document.
I know Mike just added in a depressing one.
Well, it's still a major thing that's happening.
It's got to be chronological,
all right.
dude.
Not just him. There are others that we can mention as well.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the big things, one of the earliest big news items was J.K. Rowling revealing that Dumbledore was gay.
Yeah. That was that October. That was later that year.
Yeah, and it came out. I was looking at the transcript earlier today. Somebody had asked her, did Dumbledore ever love anybody? And she said, well, I always thought of him as gay. And there was a lot of applause in the audience. It was at Carnegie Hall in New York City. And she kind of explained her reasoning behind Dumbledore and love. And then she was like, well, if I knew that I was going to get that type of reaction, I would have told you all a lot sooner. Thinking back, I'm like, really? Don't you think people would have been very excited to hear that? Couldn't you have known? But yeah, and funnily enough, in that same night, she said that's going to give you guys something to speculate about for the next 10 years. Just imagine all the fan fiction. And which is eerie because now we're about to see Dumbledore in Fantastic Beasts 2 potentially with a gay storyline. So that was kind of weird that she specifically said you'll be talking about this for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was major news. If you go back and look, I mean, on the cover probably of most magazines and front pages of a lot of websites online, it was pretty crazy to see the reaction to your point, Andrew, that this got not just inside of Carnegie Hall, but after the fact.
It was also it was right before, how do I phrase this correctly? Being gay was cool. Like, it was before gay marriage in America, before gay marriage in a lot of places around the world. Not that it's very common yet, but gay wasn't mainstream,
right?
I would say,
right.
And I still remember being in New York City I think it was the day after, and just hearing it on the radio in a New York City taxi cab. Dumbledore is gay. This just in.
Yeah.
Yeah, Micah, you're right. It was
news at 11.
I just remember too with about that topic. I think I was I was on a plane that day to go to either Melbourne or Sydney for MuggleCast Down Under. It was right during that 2-week period where you guys sent in the videos and we did those live podcasts for the Aussies. And I just remember thinking like it was worldwide news because it hit me within minutes of it hitting the US, so that was kind of cool. But I just remember like growing up, I mean, you were talking about it not being mainstream, but it also, we didn't, I think at our age, we didn't have a lot of examples of that being a thing. And especially not within the world of that was what it was for me. Is I knew what gay was, but it wasn't. I didn't read anything that had a gay character before in it, or see anything where a gay character was prominent. Not in 2007. So, it just that was a big deal.
And critics of her decision to out him would argue that you still haven't seen a gay character in the Harry Potter books because she inserted it after the fact, after the books were published.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, we won't get into that. I feel like we've had that argument plenty of times before.
We have, yeah.
Yeah. But
another story, Micah, you put this in. This was only a couple of months after the Dumbledore gay revelation, actually.
Mm-hmm. Well, the release of the Tales of Beedle the Bard, really the first book that J.K. Rowling released officially after Deathly Hallows, and it was, of course, played a prominent role in that story and in the final book of the Harry Potter series. But I think just the whole idea of being able to have another book that was written by her, not so long after the last book was released, was something that people were excited about. And I remember they did a whole display, right? I actually I think I shared this with both of you. They put one of these books, which were handwritten by her initially. They had these very special editions that she did for certain people on display at the New York Public Library for a period of time. And in the case where this particular version of Beedle the Bard was being showcased, they had a poster, and the poster tells the story, and then at the bottom it lists all 7 of the books in the Harry Potter series. However, this version, for whatever reason, I remember I took a photo of it because I was probably at the time was doing a report for MuggleNet, and books were out of sequence. So
idiots.
You know what happened, though, when I wrote to them and I told them that, I emailed them later on in the day, they said, yeah, you know what, you're right. We actually just noticed that, but for catching it, we're going to send you the poster.
Oh, that's cool.
What?
So I have the poster somewhere here in my house, and I've kept it. I would have liked the what is probably either $100,000 plus million, whatever it is, version of Beedle the Bard that was contained in it, which is worth far more money than that poster is.
Here, kid, have a poster.
But I'll settle for the poster.
Just imagine you writing to the library. Excuse me, New York Public Library. I noticed that these books were listed incorrectly.
Here's the truly
you need
cool.
to flip them around.
Here's a really cool thing about Beedle the Bard. At first, it was never supposed to be from the outset that this would be a public book. She hand wrote 7 copies of Beedle the Bard. She wrote these stories out and gave them to the people most connected. She gave them as presents to the people most connected.
Why the hell did I get one?
To the Harry Potter books. Well, there were 7 MuggleCasters alone. So she couldn't just, favor us.
She could cut the book into 7.
They were given to her editors, probably the person who first discovered her.
Yeah. Got it. And this is, I'm reading off an article in the Guardian.
I don't think this should be on the list.
Why
Biggest
not?
moments. Because the stories, like, it was nice to read once.
No.
But the stories weren't.
Well, I mean, you could also
interesting.
cut.
You're thinking about this all
We're
wrong.
at it.
Canon.
Let's cut Casual Vacancy because 2 people on here never even finished it.
That's true.
Yeah, well, I
That's-
would agree. Casual Vacancy shouldn't be on this list
No,
either.
the Casual Vacancy should be on this list for the same reason Beedle the Bard should be on this list. Actually, little different reasons, but
What?
very good. Beedle the Bard should be on this list. Hear me out. Because it was J.K. Rowling's first return to the world of Harry Potter in published form, in written form. These stories chronologically, they are. The Warlock's Harry Heart is one of the best fairy tales ever written, ever. And I will fight you on that. I will fight anyone who comes to me and says the Warlock's Harry Heart isn't awesome and amazing. But, I mean, Babbity Rabbity, look, it's just good fun. Like, the fact that she was willing to have fun, and at first it felt so exclusive, like, oh, bourgeoisie, J.K. Rowling. Only 7 people will ever lay their eyes on it. The fact that it was released to the public for charity, just like Fantastic Beasts, just like Quidditch Through the Ages, was for all of us.
No, I agree with you, Eric. And the other thing that I would add here is this was the beginning of the post-Potter era in terms of the books. Mm-hmm. It started off everything else that falls after this in terms of continuing to engage the fan community beyond what we knew as the 7-part series. Mm-hmm. Beedle the Bard started
fairy tales irrelevant to what happened in Harry Potter.
No.
This didn't engage the fandom.
The 3
we
brothers
only bought it because we were sad that Deathly Hallows just came out a few months ago. If this came out right now,
you're spoiled.
I wouldn't care.
You're spoiled Harry Potter fan.
We've talked about illustrated editions of books on this show.
Well, those are interesting.
This is an illustrated edition.
Ththese are all new
Don't
stories.
say that word.
But do you understand
Don't
what
let
I'm saying,
Scholastic
though,
hear
in
that.
terms of starting the fan community? It was the first time I feel like people were really engaged post Deathly Hallows.
Engaged? How are they engaged?
I love these stories. I love these stories so much. I love them so much.
What were the sales of Beedle the Bard?
$4 million £4 million in the first week, according to the Guardian.
Thank you.
And
but just because people are buying it doesn't mean they're engaged. It meant they went out and bought it.
About the Cursed Child.
2.6
just because people bought it doesn't mean they're engaged.
So,
they were engaged. They wrote the reviews on Amazon.
Not to jump ahead.
They came out and they were engaged in
And by the way,
reviewing it poorly.
I'm just looking at this list right now. Biggest things. There are movies that came out after Deathly Hallows that aren't even
like
on
5
this
of
list.
them, and none of them are on this list.
Well, because we knew those were coming. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're having a good fight here, so let's continue.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, this is fun, isn't it? Are the listeners enjoying? Your patrons, are they asleep?
I think they're
What's
having
going
fun.
Here's what we can all agree was a big one: Pottermore. So Pottermore came out in 2011. There was a lot of pre-launch hype. We were all excited because we thought it would be more than I think it really ended up being. You might remember at the beginning you had to go through a few of the chapters to get to the sorting quiz, which was really frustrating for people who just wanted to take the sorting quiz. You had to go through the book chapter by chapter to explore everything, which was frustrating. It was built on Flash, which was kind of on its way out. Pottermore did launch the ebooks, so that was one big reason why Pottermore launched to begin with. But it did finally hit its stride in the past couple of years. It has a purpose now, and I've spoken about this before on the show and in the past year or two. Pottermore is a place where news is made now, and it covers multiple areas of the Harry Potter fandom. The Harry Potter fandom has expanded so much with Cursed Child, with Fantastic Beasts, with the theme parks, etc.
Right.
There's just it is the hub for all things Harry Potter now.
Yeah.
Hmm?
I agree. I think when Pottermore first launched and you talked about some of the issues, also the fact that the whole having to collect different things. Do you remember that? Like you hovered your mouse over it.
You could collect.
The other side of those chapter by chapters was that you never really got to see the characters, because one of the things that they were championing at the time was that they didn't want people's who were going through and experiencing Potter for the first time through Pottermore to be influenced in any way by
having faces
to the characters.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a little bit of an odd experience. I think that there were definite things that were lacking from what we were all anticipating as fans. And I think, though, where they've gone to now, they've kind of found their bread and butter. And, you disagree.
I do a little bit. So I'm not with most of what you were saying. I never found it awkward that there weren't faces on Pottermore, and I honestly truly think that Pottermore has betrayed its own promise of what it. I liked what it once was more than what it is now by a factor of like 10,000. The initial promise was we're going to revisit these books, and J.K. Rowling will provide new insights and new informations around every corner. And it turned out like every corner turned out to be every 15th corner. And to get like they had those user issues. I think it was branded a little bit wrong again, like the privacy issues. We could never remember our own username. There were growing pains. I won't deny that. But I think that originally what it was in the Flash, you mentioned it being on its way out even back then. I would agree, except they pushed it to its limit. Pottermore was beautiful. And those moments were all heavily artistic and exciting. At least then it was something that, they had the money. They threw the money at it and made it look gorgeous. The only thing that was lacking from original Pottermore, in my opinion, was J.K. Rowling. The promise was a lie. She barely wrote anything about those characters. They're all collected now, of course. We, something on McGonagall, something on Hagrid, and I think that's it for book one. Darn it. There just wasn't much content lurking there after all. It was a big bit of misdirection, and it never felt like J.K. Rowling was present with us the same way that it had when it was just jkrowling.com.
But still, it was a big deal when it was announced because we kind of thought that this was the future of Harry Potter. it was, like I said, this was where the ebooks started.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, Pottermore was Harry Potter's introduction into the digital era. Harry Potter started before the digital era.
And I would just add, though, I would credit the digital era for making Potter what it became.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question. The fact that we're sitting here doing a podcast, the way that the fan community was able to connect with each other was through websites like MuggleNet, The Leaky Cauldron, and others. Yep. And am I remembering correctly that didn't Pottermore give certain clues to different fan sites in order for the
there
prior
was
to the
Google
reveal?
Street View clues. There was just all
Did
this.
we each get a letter?
Pre-release anticipation.
That was it. A letter.
Everyone had a letter.
And
So however many POTTERMOR 10 letters, 11 letters. I couldn't count. I ran out of fingers to count on. But that was cool. And yeah, I think initially, like, the reveal and being a part of the movement and the internet, I seem to recall the CEO at the time, there were 3 or 4 throughout Pottermore's history, at the time was talking about going through Pottermore on plane seat backs, like on airplanes, the seat backs of airplanes, and was like, this is our lofty target for what you'll be able to do and how you'll be able to experience J.K. Rowling's magical works, like plane seatbacks, for crying out loud. But the ideal was there, and it was really, really kind of cool and made it seem like, again, it was very corporate, but it didn't seem, at the time, it just seemed like a lot of money is being thrown at Harry Potter again, and we, the fans, are going to exclusively benefit.
But we did, and it was also supposed to introduce new readers to Harry Potter. That's why those chapter by chapter breakdowns existed, so you could read the book and then go to Pottermore and get a little information every time you completed a chapter.
It achieved that goal, though.
Yeah, I wonder if what they're doing now is going to be any more successful, but considering I haven't heard anything about it and it's been like a month, I probably am guessing it's not.
Well, they don't have sponsors anymore. They had Sony as a sponsor, now they don't. I'm not sure where exactly the money is coming from, but look, it's a Harry Potter news website now. It's got some encyclopedia elements to it, and I do think it's in a good place. They've got cool quizzes.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I think it's found its purpose, and look, it's 2017. It was much different back when it launched, and it's changed, much like the next item you have here on the list. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter, the theme park, is much different today than it was back then, because at the time, the park had only been open for just about a year in 2007.
No. The park opened in 2010.
Oh. So why does it say expansion?
Wizarding World including expansion and LA and Tokyo. So
I don't think it opened in 2006.
No.
Maybe in my mind it did.
Yeah. In Micah's mind, he was way
made
ahead
it in
of the
Roller
curve.
Coaster Tycoon in 2006.
That's what it was.
That's what you're thinking.
I will say, as we go through this list, the most rewarding thing that I can't help but hark back on is there are episodes of MuggleCast dedicated to each of these news stories when they were hot.
Including Beedle the Bard.
But no, I mean, the Wizarding World, there's probably 15 to 30 episodes of MuggleCast between when it was announced and when it was revealed, and Andrew was there for the opening in Florida, and I think I was on a construction tour and talked about it. Like, that real-time news update anticipation was captured again. It wasn't just our book anticipation in the first 100 episodes. It was after that we got to do it again. We got to look forward to something and talk about something we didn't know what the outcome would be, and all of these things were happening to us, and it's all documented. It's all available on our MuggleCast website. It's all there.
Yep. So the Wizarding World, this was a big one, of course, because you cannot be a Harry Potter fan and visit the Wizarding World theme park and not absolutely adore it. It is just a sight to behold because you are completely. I sound like one of the Universal people right now, but you're completely immersed in the Wizarding world, and it's just unreal. But really, I mean,
is that what they
always
sound like
strikes
in
me,
Florida?
Yeah.
That's the Florida accent.
Yeah.
Every time I visit the theme park, I'm struck by how many passionate Harry Potter fans are there. The people wearing the cloaks in the summer heat, the people wearing their favorite Harry Potter t-shirts, and God knows there's a ton of different Harry Potter t-shirts these days. And you just see how happy they are to be there. And it makes you realize that Harry Potter has never really left them. They're still as passionate as they once were. So I just think the best thing about the Wizarding World theme parks is really getting to get in touch with your inner fan.
Well, and that was
like,
our hub.
in no other way.
There were 5, I think, Harry Potter conventions, or maybe 7, that took place in Florida as a direct result of the theme park being there. It was Harry Potter fans finally, for the first time, had a mecca, had something to go to, something to celebrate each other in. And, I'll never forget Infinitus and LeakyCon and quite a few geekies, I think, too, that were all in Florida that had evenings in the park. And it was all these places where we could go and be fans together. And that never happened before. I mean, we'd picked bookstores, but this was an area that was dedicated solely for us. And it brought about further experiences and further moments of illumination and understanding.
We are going to continue our discussion of the 10-year anniversary of Deathly Hallows in just a moment. First, Micah and I want to tell you about Casper mattresses.
That's right.
I wish I had a Casper mattress for the midnight release of Deathly Hallows.
Well, I mean, that was back in 2007.
Maybe that would be a bad idea because I just would have fallen asleep.
That's right. You would have not been able to finish the book while everybody else was reading.
Yeah, Casper is a sleep brand that created one perfect mattress sold directly to consumers, eliminating commission-driven, inflated prices. Its award-winning sleep surface was developed in-house. It's got a sleek design. It's delivered in a small, how did they do that, sized box.
It is. It's funny because I got one of these mattresses recently, and I remember coming home and it had been delivered, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, how in the world does a full-size mattress fit into this box? For the last couple of nights, this is new. This is only over the last couple of nights. I can't even tell you how well I've slept. The memory foam that these mattresses are made out of is really cool, and it adjusts to your body. It's definitely a unique experience. I'm getting used to it because I've slept in the same bed for a long, long time. So to have this now, Casper mattress, is really, really enjoyable.
I really believe that it's the perfect mattress in that it's a nice mix between soft and firm. Also, another nice thing about Casper mattresses is that they are completely risk-free. Casper offers free delivery and free returns with a 100-night home trial. If you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund you everything. Casper understands the importance of truly sleeping on a mattress before you commit, especially considering you're going to spend a third of your life on it. I've had mine for, I guess, about 2 months now. I've been sleeping on it for 2 months now, and I don't think I'll be sending it back because I'm a little addicted to it at this point.
Well, you just got back from London. You're saying you're a little jet lagged. You're in the midst of recording a long podcast, and
yeah.
What more could you want to do than just go put your head down and go to sleep on that
so
Casper
badly.
mattress?
My body thinks it's 3 a.m. right now. And getting back last night after a 7.5-hour flight, I can't tell you how happy I was to curl into bed. I pushed my dog off. I don't care that I broke his leg. I was like, Brooklyn, I need to sleep. Sorry. So we got a deal for you. Go to casper.com/MuggleCast and enter code MuggleCast at checkout. You will get $50 towards any mattress purchase. Casper.com/MuggleCast. Use code MUGGLE. Terms and conditions apply. Check it out. I think Mike and I both think you're really going to like it. Mike, I'm glad to hear you're enjoying it just as much as I am. It's also nice to know I can come visit you, stay at your place, and I'll have a mattress I already know and love waiting for me. I'm going to push you off the bed.
That's right. I'll go sleep on the couch.
All right, once again, that's Casper.com/MuggleCast. Enter code MuggleCast. Thanks to Casper for their support. All right, moving on in this list, Casual Vacancy.
That's
this
nice.
This was right. This was J.K. Rowling's first post-Potter book, so that's why it was a big deal. But then once we read it, we realized, or tried to read it, we realized maybe that it wasn't for us.
Yeah,
I finished it.
Did you like it?
No, not really. I think it was definitely a different kind of read. It's completely the antithesis of Harry Potter in terms of tone and mood. It's tough to get through. So I'm certainly don't take issue with the fact that either of you guys didn't finish it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not for everybody. Like Harry Potter seemed to be this all-encompassing series that people of any age, background could read and enjoy. Casual Vacancy was not that. And I think that there was some level of disappointment that came along with that from readers that had just enjoyed Potter for so long. I remember the event that she did, was it at Lincoln Center for the Casual Vacancy? And she did a book signing. A number of us were there. And that event was cool. So something positive related to the Casual Vacancy.
That was the only time. That's the only time to date I've met her.
Oh,
got to say say two words, but it was because she said
direct message. Say you want to catch up.
She won't answer my questions on Twitter. It's an issue.
What 2 words did you say to her? I love. All right, next.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. It was.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get an I love you. Actually, I said like 15 words, but they were in the span of 2 words. I had a prepared speech.
So it was the equivalent of "want to go ball with me."
Yeah, pretty much. I said, "Thank you for continuing to put pen to paper all these years and changing my life," or something like that.
Oh, that's sweet.
It was special.
How'd that go?
She said, "Thank you." She looked me in the eye and said, "Thank you."
Good.
It was nice, but it was that Lincoln Center event. I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world, honestly. And my only regret is that book ended up not being as hopeful or uplifting, or as we know, she is capable of writing. I mean, Micah, you actually finished it. I mean, does it have like a hopeful ending, or is there sort of happiness to be found, or is it just as bleak as?
Not really.
The first half? Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely some really dark moments, and I know it was made into an HBO series.
Has that aired yet?
Or two-part series. Yeah, it's aired. Yeah,
we gotta see that.
I mean, I wouldn't have that take the place of reading the book. I would still read the book.
Yeah,
but and maybe reading it now versus when it was released would be different for me. But I was not a huge fan of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, It was just a very different book. But again, the reason it's here is because it was her, at the time, only published book that wasn't Harry Potter. So that was a very big deal, and anticipation was very high. What she didn't warn us is that it wouldn't really appeal to most Harry Potter readers.
Well,
we didn't know it was an adult novel.
No, what happened was, honestly, if you really think about this, because of the reaction that she got to the Casual Vacancy, for her next book series, she decided to not even use her real name at all. And write under a pen name.
Well, and ironically, I mean, Casual Vacancy is still the only published work by J.K. Rowling as J.K. Rowling since Harry, unless you count the Harvard commencement speech book that was released based on her commencement. So it was like, it's just the transcript of her Harvard commencement speech.
Which, by the way, if you have not read or watched that speech, I highly recommend it.
That's good. But yeah, so Casual Vacancy, like the fact that I will read that per your recommendation, but ironically, the Cormoran Strike series, which she wrote under Robert Galbraith, is very like Harry Potter. It's a mystery. It's funny. It's humor. Yep. It presents. It has the opportunity to be gruesome at times. Disembodiment, I think, is a modus operandi for one of the killers, and I think the second one. But it's not light stuff. But it's ultimately much closer to Harry than Casual Vacancy was in many aspects.
So The Cuckoo's Calling was published under the Robert Galbraith pseudonym in April of 2012. We didn't find out for 3 months that J.K. Rowling had published a book. It was sitting on bookstore shelves all across the world, and nobody knew it was a new J.K. Rowling book, completely unrelated to Casual Vacancy. And like Eric was saying, I mean, this Robert Galbraith series is really good. there's 3 books out so far. If you haven't read them, you really should. It's the type of J.K. Rowling writing that you miss from the Harry Potter books. This was a big deal for the fandom because it was a classic J.K. Rowling trick.
Yeah.
It was a secret
Until it wasn't.
from J.K. Rowling. It was a major surprise. And she said, she wanted to get back to the days of feeling like an unpublished author, of being able to publish a book without all the hoopla of being J.K. Rowling.
Which she almost never had.
Yeah, and that's completely understandable. And it would have been kept a secret for longer if the Daily Mail or one of those tabloids didn't out her.
Mm-hmm. That was, remember how shocking that was when not only just getting the reveal, but the circumstances surrounding how it was outed, like the wife of one of the publishers or a lawyer or somebody.
Yeah, it was something weird like that.
At a cocktail party.
And J.K. Rowling took him to court.
Oh, did she win?
Yeah, and then the money went to some veterans fund.
Yeah.
Because of Corman.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's great.
And there's mentions of Potter in the series, which I find to be humorous. And then I think, I may have mentioned this on the podcast before, I think when I read Corman Strike, at times he reminds me of Mad Eye Moody.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just because they share similar injuries.
The peg leg.
Yeah, but also just in I know we didn't get a lot of Mad Eye outside of Goblet of Fire, and that really wasn't him anyway. But yeah, I enjoyed that series. I think it's great. I know the next book, we have a title, but we don't have a release date, so hopefully that's coming soon.
So it was Cuckoo's Calling, then The Silkworm, then Skin of Evil, right? Or not Skin of Evil.
Career of Evil.
Career of Evil. Skin of Evil is a Star Trek episode. It's not a good one. Don't even watch it. But what's the 4th title? Do we know?
We do know. I'm forgetting.
Robert.
White something. Yeah.
Somebody Google it. We looked at
Lethal White.
There we go.
White. The name Albus is a translation of the word white.
You said that on the last episode.
Oh,
too.
damn. Okay, well, I'm going to keep pointing that out to people.
All right. So again, that was a big moment because classic J.K. Rowling trick.
I agree.
Studio tour. I wouldn't say necessarily this was one of the biggest things. It is a very impressive thing. I went to it earlier this year, talked about it on the show. But it is cool. It is like I think I said on the episode. It's like a theme park. It's just as good as the theme parks, if not better, because there's so many sets there, and it does feel immersive.
And it's the real thing.
Yeah.
Right.
The lights and the cameras fell on these exact props and sets.
Yep, Michael Gambon actually farted in that seat up at the head of the Great Hall. Iconic.
Oh, God.
Iconic.
This was the bookshelf.
It's not really a big moment for fandom, guys. I'm trying to focus on the big moments for fandom.
I think that we really should.
Think that is, though. You don't think that them opening up the sets for people to come and visit?
Come on, that's huge. That's
actual places where, I mean, look, I know you got to
charitable
go to the sets and visit them many times throughout your illustrious career.
I said it's cool.
It is charitable
it's
because
a big moment.
Hundreds of thousands of people put their effort and careers into the artistry of those films. And, the one thing that I regret them not making available is the bookshelf that Dumbledore pushes Harry into, because we should all take turns, pushing each other into it funnily. That would be a great photo op. But other than that, I mean, I'm sure it's
hard to make
around.
a top 10 list that pleases everybody, Andrew. I commend you on what you put together.
The studio tour, I don't say this enough, but I'm pretty sure the studio tour has completely exclusive interviews footage that's going on the screens up there. Like it's shot so brilliant.
At the beginning, they do. They have something with the trio that surprised me.
There's stuff with David Barron and other producers and Heyman that does not appear on Blu-ray special features anywhere. So there is proprietary. If you'll get kicked out because you have to go through the tour in a certain amount of time. But my goal one day on my bucket list is to actually watch all of those documentaries that are at the studio tour, start to finish.
You do have as much time as you want, so long as you get there early enough. And
good. And I just have to go earlier.
Yeah,
you can't sleep there.
You can sit there. Oh no, you can't sleep there. No. That'll be a new experience that you can pay $100 for, I bet, in the future.
I am waiting for
those
that.
breakfasts
Add that
they
to
do.
Orlando.
You know what? Well,
I got to imagine it's not far off.
That's in our news for this episode.
Here is a big moment. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. We've spoken about it a lot. What needs to be said, really? It was a big moment because it was marketed, it was billed as the 8th story. There's been a lot of controversy around that, particularly because J.K. Rowling has said it should be considered canon. It is so different from the Harry Potter books. It changes so much. It adds a couple of bombshells that are so ridiculous.
Cedric Diggory, what?
Voldemort and Bellatrix, what? That some people have a very hard time taking it seriously. One of the most common descriptions of the Cursed Child is it reads like fan fiction.
And J.K. Rowling didn't write it, so where would we get that idea?
Right.
This is J.K. Rowling authorizing a story that she did not write to be produced in very high-end fashion on London's West End as a stage play. And not only one stage play, but it's actually two, because it's a story. It's 2.5 hour segments in 2 parts. There's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4 across 2 evenings. Literally, you're going to the theater in London not one night, but 2 nights in many cases to go see this. Super inferior art.
It will be making its way to Broadway next year.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so it's not disappearing anytime soon. I've said before that it is a very good show, and I do highly recommend it. It was easily one of the biggest things that happened in the past 10 years because it is a continuation of the Harry Potter series. We know what happens now after the 7th book. We do.
Yeah.
You may not like what happens, but that's what happens.
Harry continues to suck as a person, and he's angry at everybody, including McGonagall still. Irredeemable.
A little sad news to add in here. We lost Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Micah just included this. I guess it was sad because it was just it was so unexpected. Well, anybody dying is sad, but the reason this particular death was so big was because it was so unexpected.
This happened 18 months ago, almost to the day.
Wow.
January 14th, 2016.
It definitely had a very devastating effect on the fan community. I remember social media responding to it, actors and actresses obviously who worked with him responding to it. And I would argue probably outside of Harry, the most iconic figure in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the movie series.
The movies, obviously.
Yeah, but you know what? No, you know what? It's fair to say book series too. Snape is huge. Snape is absolutely the only character whose allegiance you come close to not understanding. Mm-hmm. It's a complete mystery.
Alan Rickman's version of Snape, I think, is that we all, if we had a perception of Snape going into the movies, having read the books, I can't imagine anybody who didn't have their version, if that's not what they were expecting, influenced by the way that he played that role.
I would agree. And as a guy, you just hear about, and these were the stories that came out when he died, how generous he was with the children on set, the stories that he would tell, the advice that he would give. And his is always, the story of being, I don't know if it was nonplussed or maybe wasn't going to take the role, but when J.K. Rowling personally told him the story of Snape and his love for Lily, which was not out yet for years and years and years and years, he was one of the only people who knew that Snape was more than just a two-dimensional, snarling, hook-nosed, greasy-haired bad guy, that there was a humanity to him. Alan Rickman found that to be so profoundly moving that he signed up for the rest of the films. I mean, he followed them through because he thought that it was such a powerful story. And if that's not an endorsement, if you're J.K. Rowling, I don't know what is.
Yep. So, certainly sad news, as was the passing of John Hurt, which happened not that long ago, who played Ollivander. So it's, these are
another
somber
iconic
moments.
character.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was January 25th of this year. So,
Arguably the biggest moment for the Harry Potter fandom since Deathly Hallows was published was learning that J.K. Rowling was going to put together a Wizarding World film series for Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
That was announced in 2013. I still remember just being in awe. We all dreamed of more Harry Potter, of more Wizarding World, but we just didn't see it coming.
No.
So soon, I guess.
I would agree completely that this is the biggest news of the last 10 years.
Good. So not Beedle the Bard.
Beedle the Bard's real close. Beedle the Bard's like a close second.
Number 2.
The more you hate it, the more I'm going to start loving it. But yeah, like...
Well, they're all tied together because...
Yeah. It's continuing the legacy. It's J.K. Rowling continuing to play in the world of Harry, and we as Harry Potter fans could not want for anything more. In my opinion.
Yeah. And then part 2 of this story is that last October, J.K. Rowling announced it wouldn't be 3 films, but 5.
Yeah.
Cha-ching.
And Ka-ching. Well, it's better than them getting to like the last movie and them being like, oh, by the way, we're going to split this one into 2.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we're going to split this one actually into 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
J.K. Rowling did say at the time that when they announced it would be 3 films originally, she said that was a placeholder until she figured out the overall arc, everything she wanted to include. So I buy that.
And funny you mentioned that, though, because I know we kind of glanced over it a little bit when we talked about the movies, but the announcement that Deathly Hallows was going to be split into 2 films, I think, was a big moment as well.
Yeah, I mean, also really just a big moment for Hollywood because that set up a trend.
Oh, yeah.
For Hunger Games doing it, Breaking Dawn doing it, Divergent.
Mm-hmm.
That was certainly significant news, yeah.
Divergent never got a part 2, did it?
No, basically the series was canceled. It's supposed to be turned into a TV series.
Oh my gosh.
But
so they didn't finish?
Happening. No, you got to read the book to find out what happens.
I think I've read the books.
Oh, well, the last one upset a lot of people, so it might be for the best that.
No, actually, I haven't. No, I lied. I haven't read that series.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
They all blend together.
But just the fact that we still have 4 more Fantastic Beasts movies to go, and I think they're just going to get so good as we get Dumbledore and Grindelwald involved, even if it is Johnny Depp. I'm still so excited to see what we're building up to, and obviously we've been talking about it a lot on this show, theorizing. There's so many ways it could go with all the different characters. So it's just so exciting. I mean, we're going to have new movies coming out through 2022, 23, 24-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And then inevitably, something else we've also talked before is that WB, of course, is going to want to keep doing more Wizarding World movies. So J.K. Rowling might pump out some more movies for them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a TV show. Who knows? Sky's the limit.
Yeah, there'll probably be another like 4 or 5 year hiatus.
It's all over. MuggleCast is ending again.
Hey, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. If it's 2027 and we're still talking, Fantastic Beasts, we want to take another year-long break, I think that'd be fine. So,
couple more items. Let's get through these quickly.
Yeah.
The Ron and Hermione reveal. The reconsideration. This was when J.K. Rowling did an interview with Emma Watson for a magazine, and J.K. Rowling said that Ron and Hermione, she put them together at the end as a form of wish fulfillment. Those were her words.
Mm-hmm. She said that their marriage would be strained.
Yeah, and she had envisioned at the beginning that those two would get together, so that's why she put them together at the end.
Yeah.
And it just rocked the fandom because, first of all, Harry Hermione shippers were absolutely thrilled by this news. And second, it was like Ron and Hermione shippers were like, well, why are you saying this now? Don't take back what you wrote. And I mean, she didn't exactly take it back, but she was reconsidering it, and that hurts people when they've already settled into believing that they really did end up together. The author, one could argue, shouldn't be going back and being like, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
I think the real reason this story's on the list is because of you and your headline. I mean, it made worldwide news because of a single word that said regrets.
Yes.
which was very, very, very intelligent and savvy for the journalist thing, and everybody. I think the world took your lead on that.
But,
Yeah.
but didn't the Sunday Times say regrets? The paper that originally published it used that word.
Yeah, it was not a genuine or above the board interpretation of the factual dialogue, but yeah, like the viewing of that information to say that if J.K. Rowling could go back and do it differently, she would. That is the real concern there that sparked everyone's furor.
I think what caused the biggest uproar is the fact that J.K. Rowling herself, in an interview that she did with both Emerson and Melissa back in the day, referred to those who shipped Harry and Hermione as, quote, delusional.
Emerson's words, she just laughed at them and said, yeah. But yeah, you're right, Micah. Those two,
that's a good point.
Those two interviews in conjunction with one another is the nail in the coffin for that. You're exactly right.
Another big item was Ilvermorny.
Yeah.
And the reason I think so is because there are obviously a lot of American Harry Potter fans, and we'd always wondered, well, what wizarding school would we have gone to?
Yeah.
And we always knew that there were other wizarding schools. Of course, we heard about a couple of them in Goblet of Fire. But Ilvermorny was a big deal because finally Americans could see where they would have went. And we thought that we would hear more about it in Fantastic Beasts the movie. We didn't, at least not yet. But J.K. Rowling did publish a fair amount on Pottermore, including some history of the school and the Ilvermorny sorting quiz.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal to hear that they did the house system as well, and it was just an exciting moment, I guess, particularly for American Harry Potter fans. I'm curious how international people felt about it. Actually, come to think of it,
yeah. I mean, she did the schools of magic. We now know. I mean, she identified, I think, 10 schools. 10 or 13. It's probably only 10, but it'd be cool if it was 13. But worldwide, yeah, it's just Pottermore. That was an example of Pottermore, I think, when it was being relevant, for one of the only times it was, in hosting a large amount of content. It was a substantial change in how we viewed or saw the wizarding world, and it came about through J.K. Rowling on Pottermore. And even the idea that Fantastic Beasts would be set in America, in New York, at least the first film, was huge. And the Ilvermorny news was a natural progression of that. Is, okay, now it's time to world build. Here's what's going on in America. And it was very important, I'd say, or relevant and inspiring to Americans to, as you said, Andrew, finally know where we would have gone.
And then finally, this is kind of an opposite answer. One of the biggest moments in the Harry Potter fandom is one we didn't get in the past 10 years. No encyclopedia. It's something we kind of thought we would have gotten, certainly before another Wizarding World film series.
Absolutely.
Certainly before...
Terrible.
Certainly before Alan Rickman died. Yeah. Certainly before... J.K. Rowling regretted Ron and Hermione.
Unless that was news in the encyclopedia. Yeah, she's been writing on napkins since 1993 or 91, and the sheer amount of information that exists tangential to the actual Harry Potter stories that she figured out during research, because she's the best, exists somewhere, and we haven't seen it.
J.K. Rowling, the napkin collection, coming to Barnes & Noble, fall 2019.
I hope they actually printed on old Elephant House napkins. That'd be great. Little elephants in the thingy. Have you been there, by the way, Andrew? You've been to Europe a couple times.
No.
Did you go to that? I think it's in Edinburgh.
So happy 10 years to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows.
Yeah.
We went through a lot of what's happened in the past 10 years, and here's to another 10 years of surprises from J.K. Rowling.
Oh.
And an encyclopedia.
No more Beedle the Bard type books, though. Please, Joe. Let's not even look at those. Think about that anymore. So let's move on to some news. Turns out the first Fantastic Beasts film did in fact tease the Wizarding Circus, Circus Arcanus. We've spoken about this once or twice in the past couple of weeks. One of our listeners, Madison, saw one of her Facebook friends notice the Circus Arcanus sign in the Fantastic Beasts movie. And Madison tweeted me. She was like, hey, look, it actually is in there. And if you go to 132.55 in the movie, you will see Graves walking right by the Circus Arcanus poster. Only a part of it, but it's there.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And so that original report, I don't mean to throw them under the bus, but Snitch Seeker had said that it was for the first Fantastic Beasts film, and then they decided to not include it. Clearly, they did include at least a part of it. I don't know if maybe Snitch Seeker meant the plan was to include a whole scene of the circus.
I think isn't it a different poster entirely? Because the one that we saw was colorful, and this one was just black and white, and it seemed to be arranged differently. Like this one was portrait, the other one was landscape.
Yeah, but point is, it's still there.
It's there, yeah.
You know, it's, yeah.
Curious that it should be Graves that walks by it.
Right, yeah. I mean, this could be some classic J.K. Rowling foreshadowing when she was like, hey, you guys, put in some Circus Arcanus stuff, and I'll get to it in Fantastic Beasts 2. Because we know she loved to do that in the book series, so you would have to think she's got the itch to do that type of thing again for the films.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, I hope so.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, and the only info on that is on the Blu-rays is there's just news that Rowling and Heyman and Yates just kind of were always seen on set together cracking the story as the film was developing. They figured out every nuanced aspect of every part of what was in the first movie, and as J.K. Rowling was breaking the story of the first movie, she would bring it to them for their analysis and thoughts and feedback. So I'm sure that exact same relationship has continued through the next group of films. And so something like Circus Arcanus, I mean, oh yeah, in the next film we'll have a circus. Yates or Heyman were probably like, well, let's put an inkling in there somewhere in this film. And she's like, and J.K. Rowling was probably like, okay, here's the scene where you could do it. You know, like because I know that it'll be relevant to Graves, or I mean, yeah, like it's absolutely, they are the new authors, you know,
right.
Magnimus of this whole thing.
So I'm hoping, and I think there's a good shot, because like I said, J.K. Rowling loved to do this in the books, that we'll go back to these first couple movies and we'll see a lot of stuff that references what happens in the future.
That'd be so
cool.
That
would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Circus Arcanus, I was in London/England in general last week. I got back last night, and I will be the first to admit that I probably sound a little hazy this episode because I'm very jet lagged. We're recording late. But so I stopped by Mina Lima. It's right around, they are the production designers for the Harry Potter movies.
They have a shop.
They have,
They have a shop.
They have a shop right around the corner from Cursed Child. We've recommended it on the show here. It's free. You gotta freaking go. You have to go. If you're in London, never listen to this show again if you go to London and you don't go to Mina Lima. I don't want to be associated with you.
Wow.
It's just so good. It's so good to see all the Harry Potter art. So anyway, I went in there looking specifically this time for the Circus Arcanus art. And I did find it in the stairwell, actually. And it looks really beautiful in person. It's just very colorful, very detailed. It was exciting to see in person, and I posted a photo of it on Patreon. So patrons, check that out over on patreon.com/MuggleCast. And by the way, you hear that sound?
What? What is it?
It's not my copies of Beedle the Bard that I'm slapping. I already burned those in a fire.
Oh, come on.
Along with Cursed Child and the Casual Vacancy.
Yes. I hate so much of J.K. Rowling's work.
No.
I have 2 postcard sets, one Harry Potter, one Fantastic Beasts, consisting of some of the art that Mina Lima designed for the films, and we're giving these away to Slug Club members over on Patreon. So Slug Club members, be sure to enter that giveaway. It's running now through July 24th over on patreon.com/MuggleCast.
That's just one of the perks you get for supporting us on Patreon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And these are cool because these Mina Lima sets, you can only get them from Mina Lima. You can't like buy these in Barnes & Noble or whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, another news item, speaking of art, we're getting a first look at the Fantastic Beasts Illustrated Edition. We got the cover and some of the inside artwork. Interestingly, the Harry Potter Illustrated Editions have been using the same cover for both the US and the UK, but for some reason, the covers are differing for the US and UK for Fantastic Beasts Illustrated Edition.
Guess we'll have to buy both.
That's why they did it.
Cha-ching.
The UK cover has an Akame on the front, and the US cover has a griffin. And we got some previews of the artwork. We see a unicorn, a snidget, a ghoul, a manticore.
And,
so it looks good.
What was the name of the fifth grader that designed it?
Fifth grader?
Oh my god.
Okay, that's just insulting to the artist.
Yeah, that's really rough.
I just wanted to, maybe.
Her name is Olivia Lomanek Gill.
Okay.
Micah.
Oh my god.
She draws better than you do, that's for sure.
I don't know about that.
Okay, Micah, you know what? Why don't you write Warner Brothers a letter? This seems to be a thing that you do. And, give them some of your drawings for inclusion in a future Fantastic Beasts Illustrated edition.
I will.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the color palettes or what, but the art does seem similar to the Harry Potter Illustrated editions, even though it's a different illustrator. Don't they kind of feel the same?
Because it's Jim K, right?
Jim K,
Jim K, yeah.
You like him, Micah?
He does a great job, yeah.
I think they're building a brand kind of style.
I mean, I know it's hard to draw beasts that don't really exist. There's not much to work off of. It's not like you can ask them to pose in front of you.
Yeah.
All right. The snidget kind of looks like you, Micah.
My only regret is that
He should be so lucky.
Yeah, right. Mike is a very attractive man. I will say that the only issue I have with this illustrated edition is there's not more actual content, more beasts. The films they developed in production. This is on the Blu-rays. Like there was that iceberg creature, which like looks like an iceberg up top, but down below it's like the world's largest whale. Like really cool stuff. Like this is still the same book that all of us legitimately own 7 copies of already. That's
Is this the extent of it though, or will there be more in terms of the illustrations?
I'm sure there will be more than 5 illustrations.
Yes, this is just a preview.
Probably every beast will have an illustration, which is why they're selling it. But I mean, this one in particular, because they recently re-released it with that new forward by Newt Scamander and with the film in mind, seems particularly egregious, like a money grab. To re-release. I know they're all money
seem
grabs.
Really soon.
Yeah, but it's quite soon.
Well, the blank page with the demiguise may be the best illustration.
All right, Micah, don't buy it, okay? So one other news item, it doesn't exactly pertain to Harry Potter, but it brings up an interesting question. Disney, they held their annual D23 Expo. This is kind of like their own Comic-Con. They held it this past weekend, and they unveiled a lot of theme park news. And one of the things they revealed is that they are going to build a Star Wars hotel. And it is a completely immersive experience to the point where you have a certain uniform to wear around the hotel, and it sounds like you'll be going through like a whole storyline while you're there. And you stay in these rooms that don't look like any hotel room you've seen before. The concept art of one room looks like a BB-8 themed room. It has like a window into the galaxy.
You're staying
It doesn't even have
BB-8.
a TV. Like, I don't know if they just left that out just to show how immersive it is, but The beds, frankly, look uncomfortable, but that's besides the point. We've spoken previously, and it's been a while, so I wanted to bring it up again. Universal and Disney, they're competing a lot in Florida now. Could this Star Wars hotel, this immersive hotel, push Universal to do a Harry Potter themed hotel? And then the obvious one that they would do is Hogwarts.
Boarding school, of course.
Hogwarts lends itself to becoming a hotel, whereas Star Wars, Eric, I don't know if you can you reference something in Star Wars that like people would actually want to live in?
No, I mean, not really. I think the example I was reading off of the Star Wars news post was like, come to the cantina and get some blue milk, just like Aunt Beru made. I'm like, okay, so they have a signature drink. I mean, blue milk, which it's still like, what about the lactose intolerant people? Sorry, fellas. Like, it just, I can't. Thank you for the challenge. I can't. I mean, unless you go full on Empire and you're like, this is the Death Star. Welcome to the Death Star. Here's your crew quarters, or Camino, the cloning quarters. There's really not residential places in Star Wars. All the characters sleep and live on starships, which are always in transit. So it's a unique challenge, which I'm excited for. I think this Star Wars hotel is going to be pretty cool, and I think you're right. Like, it's going to set the bar and be the benchmark for other, theme parks and themed hotels to take note off of. Whatever happens here, however this hotel exists, it's going to change a lot of the future of hotels. And so, I mean, I you would think Hogwarts would be, and Harry Potter would be better suited. And frankly, I remember talking about the possibility of a Hogwarts hotel when the Wizarding World theme park was first announced. Again, there's a MuggleCast for it, but that was what I think I remember saying that I wanted. I didn't even want a theme park, because if you can just stay at Hogwarts and take some classes for like a week, that would have been everything to me.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about the classes, but just going up into your dormitory,
having a storyline play out.
You book your reservation, you pick which Hogwarts house you want to stay in, right? Mm-hmm. So then you check in, and they give you like a Hufflepuff scarf, and they're like, "All right, go up to the Hufflepuff wing," and then you go up to the Hufflepuff wing, and it feels like the Hufflepuff house. Yeah,
poofy armchairs, and
got to go in through the portrait.
And nobody ever dusts it. Room service does not dust it, because that's how they... I mean, people with allergies you could almost never do it too perfectly. But it's certainly intriguing. I think that this spells that there will one day be a Hogwarts hotel.
I really think so too. If I were a betting man, I'd put my money down on it. Universal is expanding like crazy right now. They just built a water theme park.
Wait, what?
Universal just built a water theme park.
That's crazy, really?
Volcano Bay, yeah. Yeah, it just opened a few weeks ago.
Wait, Volcano... Oh, that was... Well, that's in addition to their 2 new hotel rooms.
Yeah, they keep adding hotels. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So,
I agree. I just think it's a matter of time. Maybe this is the thing that finally pushes them. If they haven't been thinking about it or like really planning for it, they have the space, or if they don't, they'll find the space. So I think it's just it's a matter of time.
If you think about it, I think Harry Potter pushed Disney to create a Star Wars land.
So Disney's not only has Star Wars, but they have Avatar too, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and I think that's another side effect of Harry Potter.
Yeah,
the hot thing to do now is IPs. You gotta get these big IPs into the parks.
I'm all about the IPs.
But is Avatar that big of a seller that
no
going to draw?
No, it's a punchline, but at the same time, they're developing it to be this massive immersive. I mean, it looks amazing. Pandora's soft opened, like it looks amazing, and
it's officially opened.
Yeah. Really? The only joke is that the storyline, because of the way the film's production scheduled, because they were going to make 4 sequels to Avatar, because that was held up. you can actually get spoiled on future Avatar films if you go through different storylines of different rides in the Avatar park. So Avatar exists as sort of a placeholder for future films, but it's going to be, I'd say, it's going to try to be a contender in like 5 or 6 years when the next Avatar film comes out. It'll be up there with where Star Wars is, I mean, maybe not up there.
If it's good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. But
they'll be on their way, maybe. But I think most people are in agreement that Avatar just hasn't caught on like Star. It is the highest grossing film ever, yes, but it doesn't have a fandom. It doesn't have a community. Yeah, still, like Eric said, it's an immersive themed land, and for that reason, it'll be successful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this immersion, I mean, it's because of Harry Potter. But anyway, that's all.
Yeah, we can take credit for that. We can absolutely take credit for that.
Anyway, a couple of housekeeping notes before we wrap up today's celebratory.
Yeah. Commemorative.
I like that.
Commemorative. What's
reflective?
A wrestling, a battle type episode.
A Beedle type episode.
A battle for Beedle the Bard. Check out our website, MuggleCast.com. We would love if you're on Facebook, and let's be real, we're all on Facebook. Go to Facebook.com/MuggleCast. Give us a like. You'll be kept up to date on our latest new episodes as they're released. Also, Twitter.com/MuggleCast. And we would love your support over on Patreon, Patreon.com/MuggleCast. We're actually getting ready to add a couple of new benefits. We're continuing to enhance it as time goes on. We want to keep everybody happy. Yep. You can pledge $2, $5, or $10 a month currently. You can receive a variety of benefits depending on what pledge level you are supporting us at.
New chapter reading coming very soon, and one was just posted.
What's going on at our P.O. box, Eric?
Well, I just had to say this because we got 2 amazing and completely, I want to say unsolicited, but gifts via the P.O. Box this week. First, Claire Schaub, who listens to MuggleCast, was listening to our Ivana Lynch episode, which was 326. And at the end of that episode, Ivana Lynch and you guys are saying that I should try chickpeas, which I had never tried, and I asked the question, are they crunchy? Which shows my ignorance about chickpeas. Well, it turns out Claire Schaub has found, I'm holding up the, she was at the supermarket and came across the Good Bean brand crispy crunchy chickpeas for snacking and topping. So we wanted to thank Claire for her generosity and for thinking of me. And you know what? I'm going to try them right now. If I can.
Let us know if they're crunchy.
Oh, I will certainly let you know.
I didn't think the chickpeas were supposed to be crunchy.
I mean, they probably are doing something they're not supposed to. Actually, I tore off the thing, but I can't actually get it open. My hands are sweaty.
My hands are sweaty. I can't get it open. Why are your hands sweaty?
Well, because I'm podcasting without an air conditioner on, and it's like the middle of July. Hang on, guys. You know what? This can't. This is me.
Well, I guess we'll continue to not know if these are crunchy.
We'll find out on episode 329 whether or not the chickpeas were crunchy.
We'll hear episode 350 when it's winter in Chicago.
You guys, I'm gonna get a darn scissors. Give me a second. Oh my God, they're very crunchy.
They do sound crunchy.
Yes, these are delicious.
Don't hold them with your hands though, because they're gonna get all moist and then they won't be crunchy anymore.
These are delicious. This is the smoky chili and lime flavor of the Good Bean crispy crunchy chickpeas. They're delicious. I'm gonna have to send
Today's podcast is brought to you by
bag of this.
Enter code Muggle for 10% off your chickpeas.
Anyway, look, I mean, it's just so cool that listeners continue to send us these unique and completely unsolicited items when they're thinking of us. And speaking of somebody else. A gentleman by the name of David Eastwick sent us his book. He actually published a book, and it's called Gina Dare and the Emerald Tablet. It's a 430-odd page book, which is very Potter reminiscent. The woman on the front is holding a wand and has emerald green eyes. So very interesting. But David Eastwick sends his book with a message, MuggleCast, maybe this will be worth something someday, ? Thanks for the show. And he signed it. So we have a signed copy of Gina Dare and the Emerald Tablet by David Eastwick.
All right.
Well, you should eat chickpeas and read that book.
I'm
at the
gonna
same
eat.
time.
I'm
That
gonna
would
get
be a good way to celebrate.
The spices are gonna get all over the pages. But yes, thank you, David. I will try and eat this I will try and read this in a vacuum. We wish you luck on your
right.
success.
Finally, we have a reminder. We're going to be at MuggleNet Live 2017, 19 years later. It is going to be a one-night event inside the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Orlando, including King's Cross Station, where you can catch the train off platform 9 3/4, drink unlimited butterbeer, and cast from the films will be there. We will be hosting a live podcast during the events, which will follow the cast Q&A sessions that are happening. And we're also going to lead a scavenger hunt, or not a scavenger hunt, a scouting hunt, a scouting journey. We're going to figure out where they can build the Hogwarts Hotel. We're going to start looking for some open land around Orlando that they can work with.
We're going on a swamp trek, you guys. Swamp trek.
Exactly. When you go to purchase your ticket, we have a little discount for you, actually. Just enter code MuggleCast at checkout, and you can receive $10 off.
Yeah.
This is going to be on September 1st, which, of course, is the first day to Hogwarts. Back to Hogwarts, y'all. 19 years later. Just like in the book. 19 years later. Get it? Get it?
It's the date.
Read more about the events in our post at the top of MuggleCast.com, and you can use the link there to visit MuggleNetLive.com. But don't forget, when you do order your ticket, use code MuggleCast, and you'll get $10 off.
That's only 7 weeks away, you guys.
It is very soon. We should probably buy our plane tickets.
Yeah, everyone should.
Good
Book
idea.
now. MuggleNetLive.com.
While we're there, probably make some predictions about what lies ahead. Maybe we can, if we're doing the podcast there, maybe we should ask people there, hey, what do you think's coming up next in Harry Potter over the next decade?
I just want to pick Sean Biggerstaff's brain on everything because he'll be there.
Oh, I definitely want to do things with Sean Biggerstaff too.
You can teach us how to
Anyway,
play Quidditch.
I need to go to bed and have dreams of Mina Lima.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will be back next week. Thank you for your support so much. We're having a great time doing these episodes weekly, and we have a ton to talk about. Who would have thought 10 years later? It's all thanks to Beedle the Bard. It has given us so much to work with.
Hey, the Warlock's Harry Hart, man. I want it to be a TV miniseries.
Set it in motion.
Do it.
You guys love it so much, but we've never done any special segments for Beedle the Bard.
Have we not?
We probably did a podcast on it.
Did we do
Yeah,
chapter
I mean,
by
probably
chapter
one.
for the
No chapter by chapter.
story by story?
I'm sure we did story by story.
If we do chapter readings for Patreon for that, I will not be
Oh
participating.
gosh.
Why
Okay.
not?
Protest.
We'll get real Harry Potter fans to read those.
Well, Emma Watson already read one of them.
She did?
That's true. Yeah, she can. She
Tale of the
replaces
Three
me.
Brothers.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Alrighty, buddy. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Micah.
See you next time. Goodbye.
These chickpeas are really good.
Long live Beedle the Bard.